Hello and a very warm welcome indeed to this latest edition of Quadriga, where we are this week focusing on the handover of power at the top of American politics from Barack Obama to Donald Trump. Now, in recent days, the battle over President Obama's legacy has been heating up. The man who came into power 8 years ago, promising to bring sweeping change to the United States, has this week been defending his record in an emotional address to his followers in Chicago. Meanwhile, however, it looks as though Donald Trump is set to take a wrecking ball to most, if not all, of what Obama has stood for. So our question on Quadriga this week is Obama's legacy. Can it survive Trump? And to discuss that question, I'm joined here in the studio by three seasoned commentators. Let me introduce them to you, beginning with Christoph von Marschall. Senior editor at the Berlin daily Der Tagesspiegel. Christoph argues that the world will very soon come to miss Barack Obama's thoughtful approach to politics, as he puts it. Now, also with us is Alan Posener, a regular commentator for another Berlin-based newspaper, Die Welt. His opinion, Trump is Obama's legacy. And we're joined by Melissa Eddy, Berlin correspondent for the New York Times, who says Obama wrote history as the first black US president. Even Donald Trump can't change that. Well, Melissa, I'd like to begin with you. We've seen Barack Obama giving his farewell address this week. I wonder how much you're going to miss him.
A lot. It's hard to quantify. The difference is so between when you watch Obama's speech and you watch Trump's press conference, the difference in the personalities and what they stand for is just, it's palpable. It's so obvious. And I am a person who cares about language, cares about the use of language, and I have to say there was something thrilling about having a president who could actually hold a speech and hold a huge crowd riveted, and the speech felt like a delivery of a message and not like a pep rally for a sporting event. OK, we know Barack Obama can deliver a good address, but what about his policies? Is there a coherent body of achievements that can be described as Obamaism? In terms of policy, well, you know, the biggest one I would say would be the healthcare policy, which, of course, is what the Republicans are intent on taking a wrecking ball to, which I think is going to be a real test of where the country is at. We will see. The Republicans are saying that they will replace it. They will take down or take apart Obamacare, but replace it with something better. At this point, however, they have not said what that something better is. So everyone is still waiting. They're very intent on the taking apart, but I think everyone knows it's easier to tear something down than it is to build something up. And it's really going to be a test to see what that means for people, and will people be willing to give up something that for a lot of people they've come to understand. And you know, you don't need to explain to anybody in Germany or most of the rest of the world what it means to have health care. But I have a lot of friends from my generation who work as freelancers or went from job to job or had low-paying jobs, and until Obama brought in the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, they never had health insurance. Christoph von Marschall, you're a former US correspondent. You've been up close to Barack Obama, the man we're talking about, I know. And you say the world will very soon come to miss President Obama's thoughtful approach to politics. What makes you so sure?
Yeah, well, as Melissa said, we saw two different characters in the speech of Barack Obama on Tuesday night and then the press conference of Donald Trump. I mean, he's so impulsive, he's reacting at everything. He seems to treat everybody as an enemy or friend, mainly enemy. And when he feels hit, he has to hit back. That is not the approach of Barack Obama. I generally think that Barack Obama will be seen as a good and great president from the perspective of history. It's not only that he inherited from Bush country in a deep recession where unemployment was growing, people lost their homes at a very quick pace. And today, America is in growth again. We have a very low unemployment rate. Of course, this is not true for every region in the United States. So I understand why there is this protest and opposition mood. But apart from coming from recession to growth, it's the health care reform, it's the reform of the financial system. He nominated two female Supreme Court justices, the first Latina. He changed how the country thinks about homosexual love, gay, lesbian, and so on. He had a huge, the missile contract with Russia to delete 1/3 of all strategic missiles. I could go on.
Yeah,
there
okay,
are a lot of
we're
things
going to very shortly. We're going to be hearing Barack Obama for himself defending his record. I'm just there's a darker side to all this, though. I mean, you said at the beginning of the show, Alan, or at least I quoted you as saying that Trump is Obama's legacy. Explain.
Well, first of all, Obama, if you say you're delivering change we can believe in, and you don't deliver change, in spite of what you've said about Obamacare, in spite of the fact that, yes, there's a certain amount of recovery, that for huge swathes of the American population, especially, of course, the white male underclass, you're not delivering what you promised, but also not for the blacks. We've had the Black Lives Matter show that that wasn't delivered, and that's why they didn't turn out for more of the same change at the election, and why they didn't turn out for Hillary, who's just going to be Obama too. And if you look at foreign policy, America is perceived in the whole world as weak, incredibly weak, including in Europe. We're worried now about, is America going to defend us? Putin has walked roughshod over every red line Obama has drawn. Obama lost the Arab world in the Arabellion. Obama lost Israel, lost Turkey. I mean, I could go on and on, as Mr. von Marschall has been going on and on, about the decrease of America's standing in the world. And this is due to the fact that Obama was a great orator. He was a first-class intellect, but a second-class temperament. You remember of Franklin Roosevelt once said, some person, a Supreme Court judge said, he's a second-class intellect, but a first-class temperament. Obama's got a great intellect. He can talk the talk. He couldn't walk the walk.
Okay,
I would say he could domestically, but not internationally. Yeah. And there's a big difference. And after years, I think you cannot forget how tired many Americans are of being the world police. That from the public, there's a certain desire and a pushback. We're tired of seeing our young men battered on foreign battlefields.
Yeah, that's what Trump's saying. That's why he's getting all these votes. Yeah.
Right. But to what extent is that the president, and what extent is he listening to his people? And where the rest of the world may not like that. Although, we can argue, does the world really want the United States as the world police?
Oh, yeah, we do.
It's, it goes back and forth. But I think domestically there has been a shift. And the desire from within America to play the world police, that is not there the way it was before.
I would also argue on the foreign policy field. Alan, if you are afraid of the weakness of America under Obama, then be more afraid when it comes to Trump.
Because it's going to get worse.
I'm waiting for the moment when countries like North Korea, like Iran, like Russia are really challenging him. And then it will turn out that you can say a lot of, we will be great again. But he will not be great, and he will have no answer. And
totally
that is much more dangerous for us.
I'm saying Trump is even worse, much worse. Okay. But the rot started, exactly as you say, when Obama started listening to Americans instead of convincing them that America needed to lead in its own interest. This idea, nation building begins at home, that could be Trump's, those could be Trump's words, and it's wrong. They don't. Nation building does not begin at home. If you're the world's leading power, you have to keep on building nations and alliances all around the world. And Obama neglected that.
Let's just go back a little bit in time before we continue to talk about about Obama's legacy. I'd just like to go back to 2008, the very early days, the campaign for the presidency, the first days in the presidency for Barack Obama. 2008, as I say, we can see examples here of his rhetorical capacities and his great charisma.
Yes, we can.
Barack Obama, America's first Afro-American president. Many hoped he would unite a divided nation. Obama could create the proper atmosphere for any situation.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Obama was also popular overseas, even before he was elected. He drew huge crowds in Berlin during a visit in July 2008. Barack Obama and his wife Michelle made a good team and served as positive role models for many Americans. It was a dignified farewell. But in the final analysis, how will history judge Barack Obama's legacy?
That's the question, Christoph. Alan is basically saying that, yes, Barack Obama has this huge talent. He's still a very young man, by the way. We don't know what he's going to do with it. But that he has squandered his talent.
I don't think so. I mean, of course, he is not all fine. He also had a lot of mistakes. And in foreign policy, I would say his biggest was Syria. Not that he didn't went in, I think that was very wise, but drawing red lines and not doing anything when somebody crosses your red lines, that is a big mistake. And generally, I would say Barack Obama's what he leaves behind, his foreign policy is much more mixed, the record, than a domestic policy. In domestic policy, you can say, well, I'm on his side or I'm on the other side. I think the state should be responsible also for the well-being and the social welfare of people or not. Then you have a clear point. But in foreign policy, it's much more mixed. But I think we shouldn't just... The mark is not, is something worse in the world than before, so it must be his fault. There are a lot of other players, and I would agree that he made mistakes, but generally how he handled Europe, how he handled China, that he also left it to the Europeans to deal with Ukraine, for example. I think that was all wise and clever and good, and in a certain way he was reliable and he was predictable. And that is enormously important for the security of the world, that important players are predictable and are reliable. And that is a big danger what is coming after him. That is a change, yeah, a change I don't want to believe in.
How's it going to change? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, the big question that we're debating here and now is, you know, what happens next? What is President-elect Trump? What is President Trump going to do with the Obama?
I have no answers to that question. We don't know. We were talking.
Why don't we know? The most powerful man on earth is about to be inaugurated in office in a couple of days' time. We don't know what he's going to do next.
Right. He has zero foreign policy track record. You know, even there were comparisons to Reagan beforehand. Before Trump came into office, people were saying, oh, well, look, Reagan this. Reagan spent 8 years as a governor of a state that is larger than more than half of the European Union member states, you know, the state of California. He had a certain track record. Trump comes in with absolutely no track record for foreign policy, and he's a businessman. And therefore, I can't say what he's going to do.
Oh, well, you know, I think...
Are you dismayed by this? Are you, as an American citizen, are you unnerved by this? It's an unsettling scenario.
It's an unsettling scenario. But I think from the German perspective, it's sometimes hard to understand what the world looks like from the Midwest. When you're sitting in the middle of the United States of America, which is an enormous country, New York or Washington, D.C. seems really far away. And the idea of building nation states, you know, when you have bridges literally collapsing in your own country.
Well, that's Obama, isn't it?
The idea, it's not, actually. It's
Bush.
It's Bush.
Fuck.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, it's Bush.
You don't repair stuff for 8 years. Well, look, I mean, I think it's just not true that we don't know what Trump's going to do. We know, and it's scary. He's going to revert to economic nationalism. He's going to put America first. He's going to raise tariffs on imports, and he's going to, by hook or crook, create jobs. He's not going to dismantle Obamacare. Well, he'll dismantle Obamacare, but probably more people will get health insurance because that's going to give him votes. It's all going to be about America first, American jobs first, and he's going to do that, you know, twisting arms like he's already done with Ford, with the whole American economy, putting up tariffs. It's going to be disastrous. It's already the Europeans who were so against the transatlantic trade and investment project are going to be, you know, begging America to bring it back in, and it won't happen. And, you know, and
this is part of the legacy for Obama. So Obama is trying to do something like the transatlantic trade, and the Europeans are all throwing up their hands saying, no, this is terrible, we don't want this pushback. And part of Obama's legacy
is not getting that through.
Well, that's the European legacy, quite frankly.
Also, but I mean...
Obama was not the one putting the brakes on that one.
Yes, he was, actually, because he didn't... There was perfectly legitimate European concerns about the question of how you... how to go about if there are conflicts of interest between American investors and so on. And Americans didn't budge enough because Obama had 4 years. The whole second term of Obama was about TTIP as far as Europe is concerned. He didn't push enough. And that's the whole point. He was too much of someone who was aloof from the process. And this has cost him friends in Europe. It cost him friends in the United States. It's the opposite of what Franklin Roosevelt did, who went out and found allies for what he wanted to do and told the people about it. And this is the problem of this aloofness of Obama's.
I'm concerned about something totally else. My concern is not that there's Donald Trump, he has a clear plan and he will get it through 100% and steam. No, there are so many lines, dividing lines between the Republicans in Congress and him. He will not get the money to have a huge infrastructural program. He will not get the money to give subsidies to American firms that they create jobs in the United States instead of abroad. That's not going to happen because they are deficit hawks. What I'm really concerned about is this unpredictability. And we just saw it in the press conference, the day of the press conference. Could you imagine that we talk about a memo in Russia that maybe President Obama had a meeting with prostitutes in a Moscow hotel?
Yeah, just one moment, Christoph. I'd just like to ask my producer, can we put up some pictures from that press conference that took place on Wednesday at Trump Tower in New York? It was the first press conference that President-elect Trump had given in 5.5 months, I think 6 months. Here we see him in action. Christoph, sorry, I just wanted to get those pictures up while you're talking.
I can comment to it.
Yeah.
OK, so I don't know at all whether this is true or is it just invented by the Russian, again, in order to steer uncertainty about our values, about the value of democracy and so on. We don't know that. And we should repeat and repeat that this is not sure, that we don't know about it, whether it's true or not. But just imagine it could be true that members of Donald Trump's campaign team during the campaign against Hillary Clinton met with Russians in order to sabotage the US election process. I mean, that would be treason if it's true. That would shortcut the Obama presidency, the Trump presidency.
Do you believe that it is true? Does your newspaper, the Tagesspiegel, believe that it is true?
No, we don't know. We don't know at all.
How exactly are you handling the allegations?
We have to report it, but we rather repeat three times.
Are you reporting them salaciously or extremely cautiously? I've seen sectors of the German media have been reporting the most graphic details.
No, very cautiously, and also with the hint that we don't know whether this is just a Russian plant or if it's really true, if it could be true. But just that shows you what enormous change we have in the United States at the moment going on. It was not, we couldn't even imagine that something like that happens under President Barack Obama, and it tells you something about his values, his characters, how he acts. And even though we don't know, we think it is
Clinton,
possible.
for example.
Certain
things we all know.
But I think when we look at this, the other thing that we have to keep in mind is you are absolutely correct. We do not know if this is true. But if we look at the reason why it surfaced, Trump, even before he has taken the oath of office, has been at war with his secret security services. This document, according to my colleagues in Washington, has been around for a while. Reporters have known of its existence, but nobody dared touch it because we still do not know, we did not know, and we still do not know if it was true. But the moment that the security services briefed Trump and Obama about it, it has given a legitimacy to the document. And the fact that the security services would take that step also is for me personally, very unnerving, because it's almost, it seems that even now within his own administration, there are terrible fault lines. And we did not see this under Obama. We saw the terrible fault lines between the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress. But within the administration, there was cohesion. And there are already signs that that is not going to be the case. And if the administration cannot function as a whole, then I find that deeply troubling.
Let me just ask you one more thing. All fascinating stuff. I'd just like to... We saw this press conference yesterday. For me, it was a watershed event. I'd just like to ask you what other... Because you said we don't know where Trump is going to take the nation next. We don't know what Trumpism stands for. What clues did you get yesterday? What further clues?
I have to say, I was in meetings all day yesterday, and I have not had time to sit down and actually watch the press conference. I've read about it, I've read our reports about it, but I don't feel that I'm
because I'm fascinated to know what do we know, what's going to happen next. I want to know more.
Well, as I said, I think Trump has sort of personalised idea about politics. He thinks you can do politics like you can do business. And we know that from Silvio Berlusconi in Italy, this idea that a businessman knows how to do politics better, which is stupid, quite frankly. You know, business is I make the decisions, you do it, and so on. But the point is that given the angst, to use a German word, going around in Washington among Congress people, I think the kind of wheeling, dealing, arm twisting that Trump is so good at in business might work for 1 or 2 years in politics. I think after that, he's going to run against a whole lot of brick walls. And if he does manage to raise... and then it's going to be really horrible for the US economy. But you might just see a Trump recovery happening under the augury of economic nationalism. And that's, you know, and when he does... And that's what... I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen... Sort of, and he said, I'm appointed so-and-so, I'm appointing so... It was all about men, not women, basically men. He's appointed to do this, to do that. And he'll get these people in a room together and he's going to say, I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me that. And he's going to do deals. And I think the terrible thing is it's going to work for 1 or 2 years. And we're going to see the dollar rising, we're going to see jobs being created, we're going to see people saying, you see, even in the German media, the far right is rallying to Trump, and they're saying, why don't we do the same? We can only hope that he runs up against a wall before Europe starts doing the same thing.
OK. When you talk about the German media, I'd just like to move the debate closer to Germany and bring in some images that we've got of the last meeting. I think it was the last meeting between Chancellor Merkel and President Obama. There you go, at the G7 summit in Bavaria last summer. Folkloristic scenes almost, but signs of a great understanding between the two leaders. There's also that famous shot where they were sitting out in the meadow. There you go. I'd just like to ask Christoph, as an expert on foreign policy, what you anticipate we're going to see with the first time that Angela Merkel and Donald Trump come face to face.
They will try to get along with each other.
Pragmatism?
Yeah, because...
Melissa is nodding, yeah?
Pragmatism, but also responsibility. I mean, it is pretty clear that a lot depends on whether Germany, the most important country in Europe, and the United States get along pretty well. Our security depends on it. I mean, all the terrorist threats in Germany, if we have somebody who really gives us important hints, it's not the Russians, it's not the French, it's not our own BND. It's mainly the Americans. So
that all sounds sane and sensible, but President-elect Trump has been showing abject disrespect for NATO, for example. Not so sane and sensible.
But the German approach to this problem or this challenge will be that we try to get our arms around him, to pull him in our understanding how he should treat NATO, why NATO still matters to us. I'm more concerned that the Trump presidency will be early derailed by foreign challenges and by because he is so combative in the inside. You need to have sort of coalition building, political coalition building in order to act. It is a very common thing that normally when people are running for office, they tell you what they want to do. And they get into office and you think now they will try to push their program through, but they will be derailed because so many things happen from the outside which they can't control. We will see, since President Trump from the beginning will look somehow weak or not sure about what's going on, the North Koreans will challenge him, the Iranians will challenge him, the Russians will challenge him, and he has all the time to react. He has all the time to react and can't push his programs through. And that is a huge risk I don't wish that for the United States. I don't wish it for us, because we will feel the consequences as well. I don't wish that his presidency will be derailed, but I'm afraid that the risk is very high that it happens soon.
Melissa, 30 seconds. Your thoughts on the same matters?
I agree.
What, you mean that Angela Merkel is going to talk sense into Donald Trump?
She will try.
She'll
because
try.
Even if you think of when she and Obama first met, they were sort of oil and water and like a couple of posing magnets. And eventually they came around and found a way towards each other. Some of that was Obama approaching her. But I think Trump will also look for trying to make a deal with Merkel.
OK, final question. It was the question of the day. Will the Obama legacy survive Trump, yes or no?
Most of it.
Most of it?
Most of it.
Melissa?
I agree that, yes, what he represented and what he stood for a generation will hold true.
Alan?
No, it's gone. We're facing really bad times.
We're facing really bad times, and on that thoughtful note from Alan Posener, I'll say thank you to Christoph and Melissa as well. Thanks very much to you for joining us. If you've enjoyed the show as much as I have, do come back next week. Until then, bye-bye. Cheers.